Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Good evening and welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and excited to be here hanging out with you tonight. As you know, every Thursday we have some great guests that share some valuable knowledge and insights about how you can be more successful at leading your business forward. As you know, one of the things that is important for every business owner to know is their number one job is to sales and marketing. So, given that how important that is, it's important to know how to do it well. So many people are out there winging it, just doing stuff and then not getting the results that they want. So, many of the topics and speakers we have focus on sales and marketing because, that's really what's going to make your business successful, especially early stages. That's the only thing that's going to make your business successful is if you have revenues and you have revenues that are growing. So excited tonight. My guest, Bob King, he wrote the book on closing and it's called The Joy of Closing. So definitely, a sale requires a close. But also many people shy away from selling because it doesn't feel right or you feel uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, if you do it right, you're really just solving someone's problem. And the close is easy because they want what you have and you're making their life or their business or someone they love life better. So Bob's gonna share some of his knowledge and insights with us, which I'm really looking forward to. And I think it's gonna be a great show. So let me just invite Bob on and we'll get started with you. Hey, Bob, how you doing today?
Good evening, Andrew. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, thanks for joining me. Definitely always great to have someone like you be able to share some of your expertise on this important subject.
It is an important subject, especially for small businesses.
Definitely. So, before we get started, we've had a chance to chat. I've had a chance to get to know you a little bit, but the audience hasn't. So if you could take a few minutes, sort of talk a little bit about your journey,
Sure.
How you got to where you are, what you're doing now, and then that'll put us in a really good spot to really start our conversation about the joy of closing.
Sure. What I'm doing now is hanging out in Aspen, Colorado with some friends because I learned how to close, and I get to have that lifestyle because I am skilled at earning customers' trust and getting them things they want. It was kind of a long journey to that point. I was in the film business. I went to film school, never really thought about closing or sales. I did always love con artist movies. And so, The Lady Eve, The Sting, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. I love movies where a character does the wrong thing for the right reasons or the right thing for the wrong reasons. And, these sort of, people you don't want to root for that you end up rooting for. I love those kind of movies. And when in 2009, I went to film school. I had some success. I made a couple of features, one of which went to Sundance. The other one kind of got me out of the film business because it didn't make any money. And then this thing came along called the global economic collapse, and I had to figure out a way to make money. And so I went on a bunch of job interviews. The one that paid to train you was for selling solar power. And the guy who interviewed me was a guy who could sell you a blender at the state fair on a day that you never thought about blenders. And so I wanted to know how they did it. I knew he was up to no good, but I wanted to know the secret, and they paid to train you. So I took the training. Halfway through the second week, I was told their system for engaging the customer's greed to prompt a a same day purchase. And but also they trained me in all the other things you need to do to create a same day purchase, which is, building trust, taking the customer's confusion and bringing clarity to it. And then, you would do this thing where they thought they were getting a great deal, and a lot of people went forward based on something that wasn't exactly true. And but at the time I was kind of a novice, and I thought, what do I know about this business? And then as I started to see some of the projects I'd sold move through the process of operations, I realized that I wasn't working for a very good company. And so I left there, went to a different company, it was a little better. And then a person I worked with there, and they had a different, sort of scam, I guess is what you would call it. And that I also mastered. I'm not, too proud to say. And then I went from there to a solar startup. And at the solar startup, I was put in charge of a sales team. I actually had to build my own sales teams. But before I built sales teams, I had to sell deals myself. And suddenly I was working for a company that had really good intentions, that worked with really good equipment. There were lots of good reasons for going forward. And I was able to close a lot of deals without having to resort to the tactics that I'd been taught. And so that got my attention, but I still trained. I think I really mastered the art of closing by teaching others how to do it. Because it's a yoga principle. If you want to learn something, practice it. If you want to master it, teach it. And, there's some things you just know how to do, and turning salespeople into closers is a skill that I definitely came with a lot of the raw materials to be able to accomplish, but you still need those 10,000 hours in order to really master something. And so I did that working for the startup, which then imploded. And, if you want to hear all the gory details, they're in my book, The Joy of Closing, which the first 40 pages are sort of how I came into the knowledge that I came into. But to finish the summary of how I got to where I am, I got an opportunity shortly after that to work for a really, really legit company that, really had great customer service ethics, and really wanted to create happy customers using the very best equipment and all that stuff. And I had to figure out how to close them without engaging the customer's greed. And what I realized was that when I started working for the startup and I was the only one selling those deals and I didn't do all those tactics, it's because I had belief. And when I added the belief element to all the other skills that I had learned how to do in terms of creating that desire within the customer, that was what I needed to get to the point where I could work with the customer's resistance to close them. So there's the skill of actually closing, which is everything that happens after you present price. There's all the stuff you do before that in the world I was in to create a one-call close, or at least make the very best first impression. And then there's, what else is there? Oh, there's belief. And so when I added belief to those other two things, I had a lot of success. And then I started consulting for other types of closers, types of salespeople, even for, some pretty big companies. And what I realized was the skill set that I developed really worked in a lot of different situations with a lot of different types of sales. And so I put it all together and created a system called One Call Magic, which isn't necessarily, for every industry. Sometimes you're not even meeting with the person who can say yes. You're only meeting with someone who can say no, but you still only have one chance to make that first impression, to get that person on your side. And so even if you're not closing the customer on the first day, the things you do to create that one call close are applicable to any type of sales where you're meeting the customer for the first time. So I put all that into the book, created the book, and then added a lot of stuff about how to get 5-star reviews and referral-based business, which I think for small businesses is really a huge, huge overlooked opportunity, because you have to close customers on that as well. So I put all those into this third section of the book, which is creating happy customers.
Okay, great. No, it's a great background. It's always interesting to hear the journey because, everybody has interesting places in the journey, ups and downs, and
it's a crazy journey. I mean, if you really want to hear the gory details, like take a look at this thing because it's 40 pages and I didn't ruin the ending. There's lots of crazy stuff that happens along the way.
Yeah, and plus you generally end up somewhere you didn't plan to end up, or you didn't think you would end up.
I did not set out to be a trustworthy person by working for scoundrels, but that's kind of what happened.
So that's cool. So I look forward to sort of digging in a little bit more, talking a little bit about the pre-close and post or the pre-price offer, the pre-offer, and then
the sales presentation, or what we call a pitch. I mean,
okay.
And by the way, I just consulted for a company where they didn't think they had a pitch. I'm like, no, you have one.
It may not be very good. Yeah. So the post, and then also what this belief thing and how it works. But before we do that, we do the show here through the Small Business Pro University. We do a lot of great things for entrepreneurs and business owners. So I'm going to play a short video so everybody knows a little bit more about what we do, and then we'll be back talking small business with Bob King. Many small businesses experience low or no revenue growth, and the owners are not making enough money. I founded the Small Business Pro University to help business owners break that cycle by empowering them with greater knowledge and enhanced skills to lead their companies more effectively. Over the past 15 years, I've worked one-on-one with more than 1,000 business owners and taught tens of thousands of people about business. My experience includes serving as a Navy officer, graduating from MIT, earning an MBA from NYU, and achieving the CFA designation. Small Business Pro University empowers entrepreneurs like you to run their businesses more professionally and create sustainable enterprises. Small Business Pro University provides access to valuable resources, partnerships, and relationships that will help you to grow revenue, increase profit, and obtain financing faster and easier. Our Masterpreneur initiatives include more than 100 expert-led multimedia courses and training programs with more than 2,500 lessons. The Small Business Pro Network, our private community for entrepreneurs. Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, our weekly live stream and podcast. Advanced Learning Institutes focused on revenue generation, profit maximization, and capital acquisition. And the Power Breakfast series, in-person events where business owners learn best practices, enjoy great networking, and gain useful knowledge. If you want to sell more and make more, you need to check out Small Business Pro University. Visit our website at www.sbprou.com. Good evening. I'm back here with Bob King, talking small business. We're talking about the joy of closing. Most people fear
MIT. I have to ask you, MIT. Holy cow! That is impressive, Andrew.
Thanks. So
I did not realize I was with a MIT attendee. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's a better place to be from than at. but it is a great place. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to do that. So Bob.
Yes, sir.
You talked about a few things, but one of the things you talked about was expertise and sort of how you gained your expertise and sort of the levels of expertise. I think that I've gone through something similar in that I've been doing what I do for the past 15 years and work one-on-one with over 1,000 people, which is great doing stuff. But then the next level is teaching it, teaching people, which gives you another lot. But then,
well, it's funny you say that. You know what the craziest thing from going on for me right now, and this is a little bit meta, I guess. is what I did not know, and I guess I should have seen it coming, given my just everything that's happened in my life so far. But even consulting, even coaching someone, you have to be a closer. You have to shake up the status quo. You have to show them the vision of what you want them to become or what you can help them become. And then, convince them that to make it seem like it's their idea to do all the things that you're advocating. You have to, closing is essentially getting another human being to take on your agenda and think it was their idea. That's the great skill. That's what a great closer does, as opposed to someone who just makes their kid clean the room.
Okay. So definitely, definitely in consulting, you're doing that. But I'm sure when you wrote your book, when I wrote my book, it took me 5 years, but
well, it took me 2.5, but I didn't go to MIT.
Yeah. Well, but I'm not. Yeah, I'm a numbers person, so it took a little longer. But I found that I learned even more writing the book because when you're doing stuff, it's one thing. If you're teaching, people can ask you any question you want. But when you're writing your book, you got to answer all their questions without them even asking them.
I never thought about it in that context, but you're right. There is no more thorough form of passing on information than having to write a book about it. That's really, thank you for giving me that insight. That's 100% right.
Okay. So
not only that, it's like, I would coach people on what to do next, but I didn't really distill it into 7 steps and a forecast like I had to do for my book.
Right.
And yeah, I hadn't really, and there's so many things in the book that, I had to, the chapter on closing, like literally I rewrote that thing so many, it's, if you're writing a book on closing, you better have a great chapter on closing. And I hope it was as great as I can make it. But there's 13 closes and 10 objections. And yeah, I spent a lot of time making that everything that I thought it needed to be.
Okay. So, I always like to start out level setting.
Okay.
So we're talking about closing, but I want you to define it for us because not everybody.
So closing is the part of sales. Yeah. Closing is the part of sales where you actually make money and get the customer what they want. And there's a lot of stigma attached. So the other reason I wrote the book is I really didn't want anybody else to be trained the way I was, which was to engage yourself well by staring at the picture of something you want or playing whatever, some kind of song that, is like a macho get what I want kind of song before you walk in the home. And then, do a great presentation, like a 5-star, always got to be fascinating presentation. And then use some trick to employ the customer's greed. That's what I was trained to do. And then I went through all these experiences working for different companies and realized that you don't need to, there are things you can do to engage the customer's greed that are, a sale is certainly a form of that. You do want their lizard brain and their limbic brain to agree on going forward at some point. And a lot of times a sale or a discount, especially something that's time sensitive, can do that. Because that fear of missing out, most of the time, if it's in the lizard brain, it's holding that customer from moving forward. But if it's about a sale, like, oh, you're going to miss out on a better price, like you can engage it both ways. But I wanted to take a part of sales that most, even very seasoned salespeople, find somehow, awkward or even beneath them, and reveal its true value to the customer, to your company, and most importantly, to you.
Great. Okay. So, definitely building out the close is key in understanding it.
Yeah. In other words, when people say sales, what they really mean is closing. A lot of times what they mean is closing. And then you'll read a book on sales, which is really only about presenting, which basically puts the customer in this terrible place where you've managed to present what you have in such a beautiful way that they want it, but you didn't get it for them. And so what will happen is they are subject, especially in a world where you can always find a cheaper price. All you've really done is price condition them for some cheaper version that's probably worse off the internet, or someone who is a closer coming in after you and just like basically, cleaning up your mess. again, with a product or a service or a company that might be quite inferior to what you would have what you're offering the customer. If you're willing to work with their resistance and not just run away the first time they say no or tell you a no that sounds like a yes.
Okay, excellent. So now, you talked about sort of like the pitch or the presentation, and then post presentation, which is more, I guess, both of them work hand in hand. Where does marketing fit into this? Because marketing
is really important. So, I mean, marketing is sort of your customer's first interaction with you as a company. And marketing really needs to tell your company's story. A lot of marketing doesn't tell the story of the company. And that's where it kind of falls short. And if you look at great marketing versus not so effective marketing, it's really storytelling that makes the big difference. And, there's a lot of huge examples, but even just, buy a bottle of GT Dave's kombucha and find out that he created this thing to help his mother through a health crisis. That bottle of kombucha, you have a lot more goodwill towards that bottle of kombucha that you're about to pay, $3 to $7 for than you did if you don't read the label. I mean, I could go on. There's literally any company you talk about that has a memorable quality has told you their story. Sometimes it's through images. You're seeing an old timey kind of whatever that makes them feel like an old company that's been around a long time. And, usually they are, or it's Bartles and James that was just completely made up, with two old actors acting like they've been making wine or whatever that stuff was for a gazillion years. But you have to tell the story of your company in a way that makes that customer fall in love with you. And then, but that's also a huge part of the pitch, the company story, especially when I work with teams. If you want to improve your team's performance, like from the quickest way, I'm going to say every time so far for me, is to just hear what each individual member of that team is telling customers about their company. And I promise you, if you are an owner who has expanded your sales team, the confidence that you walk in, knowing your intentions, knowing the need that your company filled in the marketplace, which is why you created it, and knowing how you're going to treat that customer and what it's going to be like to work with you is the reason you sold those deals. It's not because you had the best idea. It's because you were able to communicate that confidence and that trust. And that is usually what's missing from the team of really great presenters that really know how to make the customer want your product, but they don't know how to make them want it from you. And then a lot of times there aren't great closers either. So they also need to learn how to work with the customer's resistance to get them what they want.
Okay. Well, you hit on quite a few things there. So I just want to unpack it a little.
Break it down for me, Andrew. I'm happy to talk about one of these topics.
So, one of the key things that you said, basically, marketing was important. Mm-hmm. And, generally I always say that, the better you market, the easier it is to sell. And
I have trouble with the phrase easy and selling going together.
Well,
my theory is there's no such thing as an easy sale. There just isn't.
Let's see.
You're always working with resistance. There's always competition out there, and you're always asking the customer to make a commitment. And if you've ever asked someone to make a commitment and it was easy, they either didn't really commit, or that probably wasn't someone that you really needed to make that you wanted a commitment from. So I don't believe in the theory of an easy sale. I think every sale is earned.
Well, I would say easier because if you went in without the story,
graceful, happy customer producing sale, all those things can be created by marketing. But easy, no. I'm going to argue with that until the day is done.
Okay. Well, I didn't say easier. I said easier than if you didn't. not easy, but
no. But smoother, more graceful, more elegant, more more. You're setting up a sale. Let's just call it a sale instead of just some curiosity. Yes, all that is true.
And to be able to get someone to buy from you, they got to know, like, and trust you. So
you can start to build trust with marketing. That's for sure. That's probably its greatest value if you can pull it off. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, marketing gets you started down the road.
But
Before you need it.
marketing is also, if your client has a storefront and a customer walks in, the marketing is what's in the window display and the sign, what that sign looks like. And
Right.
then whatever that goodwill or curiosity got is in the hands of whoever they encounter.
Right.
And that person, if that person's not a closer, you're leaving a lot of money on the table.
Okay.
If they see themselves as, just someone who's a presenter, or someone who can pass a price, or maybe recommend a scope of work and pass a price, if they don't see themselves as someone who is a change agent to be a force for good in that customer's life by providing something that has value, which every owner walks in with. Every owner has that. And that's what you need to demand from that person on your sales team, or whatever you want to call them. You might call them operations, but what you don't understand is they are really sales. And if they're really sales, then they could be closers.
Okay. And or they should be closers.
I don't like to shit on people, but
okay.
they could.
Okay. Actually, okay. So now you talked about belief.
Yes.
How did you get your belief? And how do you help others get their belief in what they're doing?
Well, I really ask hard questions when I take on a client at this point, because my kind of specialty is different and better. And I've worked with other people who had different kinds of products. Maybe someone who's been in the business a long time. I haven't really worked with a lot of least expensive option kind of clients, because probably they don't want to spend money hiring someone like me, because their whole thing is just like, let people know how much it costs and that we can do it for cheaper. That you don't need someone like me to do that. But if you have a product that's different and better, and that if a customer would understand the value of, they would be moving forward with you instead of looking for the cheapest price, I can help people articulate that. But if they don't believe it to begin with, and if they don't have the fortitude to commit to that idea, to commit to the idea that moving forward with your product and your company at the price you're quoting them is the best thing for all parties concerned, if you don't start off before you ever encounter that customer with believing that, you're multiplying everything you say in that presentation by zero. And we all know 0 times 0 is always 0. So it's not going to produce a sale, no matter how good your marketing is or how good your product is. The best idea, we don't live in a world where the best idea always wins.
All right. And no, that's.
Can I just tell your audience there's no Santa Claus? I don't want to get into, Santa Claus politics, but yeah, we live in a world where a lot of times, the person who has that belief is going to get the deal. So you got to figure out how to have that belief. And I don't think you can manufacture it. I mean, if you're selling subpar goods from a bad company at a high price, like, my book's not going to help you.
Okay.
Maybe it will. It will help you. I don't want it to help you. I want it to be a force for good. I want it to be a force for good in the world. And I think especially, a lot of your clients are small businesses that, were created by an owner user to fill a need, had a lot of success when they were the only salesperson. And then, which really they were the closer. They think they were a salesperson, but they were really a closer because they had belief and commitment, and their life depended on whether or not that customer said yes. So obviously they're going to be willing to work with their resistance in a way that someone who's just cashing a paycheck probably isn't, unless they understand, more about you and your motivation, and they feel like you are invested in their success. That's another, that's a leadership thing. That's not what we're here to talk about, but I'm sure you go over all kinds of stuff like that. So like that belief in your sales team and how you lead them by engaging in their hopes and dreams. Well, that's exactly what they need to do for the customer. That they need to pay attention to that customer and, really as a human being, not necessarily as, there's a lot of stuff about empathy, but really it's just giving a shit. It's just, this is a human being. Can I pay attention to them? Can I lend them my attention for a few minutes before we start talking about whatever it is that I'm here to sell them? That's a big missing element also in a lot of sales presentations, is there's just no moment to get to know the other person.
Okay. So yeah, small talk. Some people.
So belief, a solid warm up. Not talking about then you get to some discovery questions. Then you want to let them know you're serious. So you go into that first step, which I call feel the pain, which is where you make the customer feel the pain of their current situation. Or if you happen to be consulting for a sales team, you allow them to feel the pain of all the money they're leaving on the table by not doing certain things that make customers more comfortable moving forward, or saying certain words that come across in a way that they're not intending. Many things like that. You really have to, kind of get in their face a little bit with it, and then show them the beauty and make them experience the pleasure of your solution. So that's the feel the pain section. Then you want to tell them about your company. Well, then you want to do a forecast, because they're very uncomfortable with that. And somewhere in there, you've probably given them a scope of work, right? When you show up, the customer's expecting two things: scope of work and a price. So you throw them a bone, but also, it's a good place to do it. So you throw them a scope of work. They're going to say, how much does it cost? And you're going to say, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go over the three most important things about this decision: who's going to do it, what we use, and how much it costs. I will go in that order. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay, great. And then you start telling about your company. I was trained in homes where we were supposed to talk for 2 hours with these giant binders and just wear them down. And then, as I progressed, I had to get to price in 45 minutes. And when you're talking about solar power or roofs or things like that, it's a lot of ground to cover if you're going to be thorough. But that's, the point was set for 30 to 45 minutes. And if you didn't get to price, you were breaking a commitment that your company made to that customer. So, number one rule of building trust is honor your commitments. And so if your company says they're going to have a price in 45 minutes, which remember is all the customer is really expecting, you better give them a price in 45 minutes. Once you do that, you can stay there for another hour, working with their resistance and all the other stuff that's going to come. But you have to honor that. You have to honor every commitment you make to a customer, always, no matter what, pre-sale, post-sale, every moment of the day. You've got to always honor your commitments if you want to be a trustworthy person. So you honor that commitment that you just made in the forecast, and you start talking about the company. And then when you're done with talking about the company, you tell them about the product. Hopefully that is a sensual experience. So even just a video with a sexy voiceover, like your videos are beautiful. I'm sure when you present to a new client, when you talk about the product, you probably hit play because they've been hearing you talk for a long time, and hearing someone else, and they see other happy clients of yours doing all that stuff and, smiling, shaking hands and cashing checks and all the stuff. You want them to have a visceral experience of what it's like to experience the product that you're selling them. If it's a car, you take them for a test drive. If it's when I sold tea, I would do a taste test, and they would fall in love, sensually, and as many senses as you can engage. When you can engage their sense of smell. I don't think new car smells like new car arbitrarily, right? When you get in that car for the test drive, that smell, if you're going to drive away, you want to drive away with a car with that smell once you smell it on the test drive. And so companies have been smart about this for a very long time, successful companies. So you give them a sensual experience of the product, and then you honor your commitment by doing a price presentation. And giving them a price is not the same as a price presentation. So you build value. You probably have done price conditioning throughout the project. If you're very old school, you'll do this horrible thing called a return on investment presentation, which never, if you want to get your customer shackles up, that's a great way to do it. So I don't recommend it, but if you want it, that's where it goes. And then you present price. And after you're done presenting price, you stop talking.
So, okay. So, definitely, I've been through some sales training. I on the insurance side, and
one of my first consulting clients was an insurance guy. I did his mom and his mom's best friend, and half the people he worked with, and they sold a lot of insurance, I will say.
Okay, and definitely, that's a sales industry. So getting training there and some of the best practices. One of the things they always said is, once you make the offer, or once someone's ready to buy, you stop talking, because you could talk yourself out of a sale.
Well, they can't say yes if you're still talking. I mean, that's the most basic thing. But also, if you don't, they want to talk. Well, they don't. It's awkward. You need to stop talking until they talk, which is awkward a lot of the time. But once they start talking, they're going to say something valuable, and not necessarily yes. It might be an objection that's complete bullshit. But it gives you a way to respond. It gives you something to respond to. So, in my book, there's all these responses, and I lay them out after specific objections, but they are interchangeable. I'm not saying use this response for this objection. And I think any book that tells you that just doesn't understand, they're trying to make an easy sale. And you know how I feel about that. You need to be intuitive, and you need to try different things, but mostly you need to pay attention to your customer and try and speak to whatever it is they're bringing up, because that's the graceful that you've been talking a long time. And so even if it's a 20-minute, a sales call, there's that old question: is a sales call a monologue or a dialogue? And a sales call is a monologue that the customer perceives as a dialogue. And so, but even when they perceive it as a dialogue, you've done most of the talking. And now it's time to really let them say something. And so if you keep talking, you're being very rude. And so you're not offering them the same grace that they gave you. And you're not really doing your job by having paying attention, working their resistance, and then coming up with whatever, a response to what their concern is, which they may or may not be expressing, but they definitely have. And so, yeah, it's really important to stop talking for all those reasons, not just because you might win. It's really a generous and kind thing to do, a professional thing to do.
Okay. So, cool. So you talked about the videos. So we're going to take a break, and we'll show another video.
I bet it's a good one.
Back together. Okay. Sound good? So what we're going to do now is going to share a little bit about the Power Breakfast. I do events every 3 times a year, and the next one's coming up on November 28th, the Power Breakfast. We're doing it at the Park Avenue Club, and definitely just a quick video to show you what's all about. And if you're available in the area, definitely come check us out. You'll have a great time and make some great connections. If you are looking to increase revenues, improve profitability, and or obtain financing for your business, you need to check out the Power Breakfast and Small Business Pro conferences.
My name is Andrew Frazier. One of the things we're here to do is supercharge your day.
Today's Power Breakfast has really been a phenomenal experience. I think it's exactly what business owners need, some true guidance of people who are genuine and really are leading them in the true direction of business growth and expansion.
The Power Breakfast is so important for the entrepreneurial community because it gives the various business people who come together an opportunity to interact and also do some business.
These events, hosted by Andrew Frazier, President and COO of Small Business Like a Pro, will supercharge your day.
Okay, welcome back. I'm here with Bob King. We're talking small business, talk a little bit about the joy of closing. We were talking a little bit about sort of some of the things that, that are helpful in the process. And, you talked about, one thing that I talked to a lot of people about is what I call it is the, basically the 60-second commercial format. And really it's a way, like most business owners talk too much about what they do and don't get to the most important issues. So this format makes you have to talk about the right things in a clear, concise way. Because that's a problem for a lot of people is, sometimes you talk a lot, but you don't talk about the right things.
It takes a lot of effort to find simplicity in life.
Yes.
Especially in presenting.
Yes. Yep. So I just break it down like regular commercials, and you've talked about all these things. Mm-hmm. First, you create the need. you know, definitely
Ring around the collar, baby. Ring around the collar. Those dirty rings. You try soaking them out. I don't know how old your audience is. They're probably going, "What the hell are you talking about?"
right. So you create the need, and then you
The
offer
need was for liquid detergent way back when they came out with liquid detergent, and nobody wanted to use liquid detergent. They were used to Tide, and so they created this problem called ring around the collar. And they showed these dirty collars. Whisk, you could ring around, you could spray it on the ring, and the ring would go away. Well, guess what? Suddenly, it's called problem solution advertising. And if you don't really have a problem, you need to create one.
yeah,
That's why there's liquid detergent.
and actually, yeah, even with cell phones, the Verizon dude, can you hear me? That was never an issue before.
Right.
And then
So they create a problem for anyone who doesn't have a bigger network. They make that a problem, and guess what the solution is? There you go. Yeah.
So that, and then you mentioned, a
Which small business is always, it's almost always, they saw a need not being served in their industry, and they created a need to fulfill that, or created a company to fulfill that need. But then when they go to advertise, they forget about that. And so you can't forget about that. That's the most important thing to tell the customer is, what will happen, or however there's a lot of ways to explain it. Problem solution is a great way to explain it, but there are other ways as well. Maybe you have a luxury brand because, whatever, the other suitcase wasn't nice enough. And so you just show someone really happy with your suitcase, but you are better off showing first someone very unhappy with the other suitcase that you created your suitcase company to do a better job then. Yeah.
And you mentioned like telling people your solution is good, but showing people your solution is better.
Yes.
And them experiencing it. So, usually I always say use an example so people can see themselves benefiting from your solution, because, some people are more visual than others.
How would it feel? Give your customer, make them imagine it. Like it's fine to give the example, but then you got to take it that next step further and say, how would it feel like for you to, not have to, whatever it is.
Yeah. No, cool. And then, a strong close with a soft ask. Nobody wants to be told to buy, everybody. But, I use Tide as an example. So, interesting enough, because, they have just a great example. They have the people who, the first thing you always see is kids running around in the mud. So, you got the problem.
Yes.
You say Tide's the best because we got liquid crystals. So
those crystals. How did we live without those things? I mean, how did anything get clean without liquid crystals?
Yep. And then they said, okay, well, we washed it.
That's actually the educational variety.
The other guy.
So the customer, what you want the customer to say is like, oh, I know how to get my clothes clean. There's these thing called liquid crystals. I'm going to get some of those. Like they are now the expert. You want to empower your customer to be an expert in what it is you're selling so they can make an informed decision.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then their clothes is like, doesn't your family deserve to have their clothes tied clean?
Yeah.
You just say, no, I want dirty clothes. So,
right.
But they're not telling you to buy it, but they're,
doesn't your family deserve it? Yeah.
Yes. So, but in 30 seconds.
Which is also creating a little bit of a luxury identification for a product that's not terribly more expensive than any other soap. I mean, it's the name brand versus the generic, but it's not, it's not twice as much as borax or something. It's like, whatever, it's name brand price, not generic price.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, but they're giving you a luxury appeal. Like, doesn't your family deserve, it's like, oh, they deserve this beautiful luxury of liquid crystal cleaned clothes. Yeah, it's very effective, and there's no reason why it's not. And again, it's not just for TV commercials. It's how any customer engaging with your sales team, even if that's you, needs to feel in order to have that confidence to move forward. Because you don't want them making an analytical decision, because analytical decisions, take forever and often are resolved on price. And that is never your friend. So you want them, there's really nothing more exciting than finding what you want and getting it. And that's really what a small business owner knows how to do for their customers that oftentimes their sales team doesn't. And the only thing more exciting is helping someone else do that. And once you start doing it, you realize, because you have to be committed. You have to be more committed than just, looking up from your horoscope saying, can I help you? You got to take an interest in this other human being. You have to understand their wants and needs. You have to recommend a solution that makes sense. And then you have to talk about how your company is going to take care of them, how that product is going to work for them. And then they're going to say, great, this sounds awesome. I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm definitely going to get this. And then you have to have a response to that allows them to tell you what's really holding them back. And once they tell you what's holding them back, you respond to that in a way. And maybe it's just price and you can drop your price a little bit and get their business. Or, it might be something more challenging. But whatever it is, you're going to have an intimate relationship with the customer, which is not what the customer showed up there to have. And it's probably not what your employee showed up to work to get. But ultimately, it's so much more rewarding. And the employee is going to make a lot more money. Your company is going to be successful. And that customer can be happy with the decision they made in a way that if you're just giving them a price and then saying, make an analytical decision, they will never have that kind of happiness. They'll never have the kind of satisfaction you can have that you get when a closer takes an interest in your needs and finds a proper solution for it.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, we're talking a lot of stuff, and it's, second nature for you. And
it was a lot of work to make this second nature. It was a lot of work, a lot of experience. I worked for scoundrels, but I knew there was some gold in it, and I knew it because even when I was working for scoundrels, the first thing I found out working for that first company is all the ways I had destroyed my film career by never doing anything to build trust with someone who wanted to hire me, and not being someone. I was hired 5 times in 19 years. I went from that to being hired 4 and 5 times a week. And that experience, and not because, I had some great product to sell. It's because someone told me how to build trust and make a good impression and bring clarity to chaos and work with someone's resistance.
Okay. So now,
and that really does make your whole life better.
Okay. Excellent. So now I'm getting ready to start my business. I've never sold anything before. But I know I got to market and sell. How do you counsel me?
Well, it's very specific to what you're selling. I mean, it would be a little easier if we had an example of at least like what industry you're in and how you're going to market yourself.
Okay.
So maybe you can start with that.
Let's start with professional services.
Accounting, or what are you talking about?
Let's do bookkeeping.
Okay, sure. So the first thing to ask yourself is, what is the need that your bookkeeping company was created to fulfill? Why did you start this business? And once you kind of have a handle on that, and it could just be, I can do it cheaper than anybody else. If that's your reason for being, that's fine. Then all you need to do is establish that you're going to do as good a job and then pass price, and then work with their resistance to, but what you're going to advertise is that we are a first rate, whatever certifications are in your industry. And then let people know what you're going to charge. Like that would be, and if they, or maybe you have to do something about what other people are charging. You could spend whatever, $10,000 a month for blah, 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 but you can have it from us for, $4,999. And if you act before midnight tonight, we'll take another $12 off or whatever it's going to be. But figure out what need your company was created to fulfill that is not being met by the industry, and then create marketing that reaches customers that are in a position to take advantage of that are going to appreciate that and value your company and the fact that you exist.
Okay. And, I think definitely, you mentioned every company is different. Every industry is different, but even every single company within the industry. So it's important to understand that, it has to be a unique solution. You can't just do
there's
everybody
4 different categories, and they're in the book, and I kind of have to pick it up to remember what they are. But it's, same different. They're in the book, and I spent a lot of time figuring it out, and then I totally forgot it. But because what I realized from doing it is like the ones I'm really good at is more for more. It's either more for more, more for the same, more for less, or less for less. That's what it is. So you're either almost as good as the best company, but a lot cheaper. That's less for less. Anyway, but you have to figure out where in that spectrum. It's in the company story, and you're welcome to read it in my book, The Joy of Closing, the definitive guide to building trust, getting the deal, and creating happy customers. But yeah, you have to figure out where your company sits in that, and then who your customer is based on who your company is, and then really target. The great thing about the world we're in now is you have such a great ability to target customers online that you don't need to figure out that appeal for every single person on the face of the earth. You need to figure out who your customer is and how to speak to them.
Okay, excellent. So we got a question on digital products, because in this age there's a lot of like products that are digital that you can't see or touch.
Yeah.
What type of approach for selling those is warranted, or how should we think about it?
My experience with digital products is mostly B2B sales. And a lot of times with B2B sales, you really can't get the customer to go forward on the very first day because you're not meeting with someone who can say yes. And that's just the world of a lot of B2B sales. Like, I get all that. But as I said at the beginning, you only have the element of surprise one time in that kind of situation. And that's when you're, at the first meeting. And so you want to bring in all the stuff that's going to make that person that you're meeting with go to whoever really can say yes, with as much enthusiasm towards working with you and your company as possible, so that that person can have confidence that when you present to the person, so that they won't look like a fool for putting you through the next level, and also so that you just want that person to be on your side. So for digital marketing, I don't know if that's directly answer your question. I will say this about digital products: digital marketing makes massive use of one-call closing techniques. So one seat left at this price, right? That's called creating urgency. And that's not, that's not them saying it's $50 today and, $75 tomorrow. That's saying, this is it. You get this seat now at this price, or you're just at the whim of our marketplace. That is very old school one-call closing. And so digital marketing is very, very, there's a lot of principles for my book that I see in digital marketing all the time, because digital marketing has so little opportunity. They're going to tell their company story in the most condensed possible way, but they're going to tell it. Even if it's just through images, they're going to tell you who that company is and give you as many small, stupid reasons to fall in love with working with that company as they possibly can. From the typeface they choose, to the images they put on there, to those 2 or 3 words, next to their name, that convey something about that company that's designed to make you fall in love.
All right. Excellent. So, one of the challenges we have here is maybe you can find me a solution, but an hour just goes by way too fast. Especially talking about my favorite subject, small business, and talking with people who are really knowledgeable. But
Thank you for that. I appreciate that very much. That means a lot coming from an MIT person. No, it means a lot coming from you, and I really appreciate your whole approach. It seems like you really seem genuinely motivated to help people, and that's very palpable. I feel it, and it inspires me to want to do the same thing.
Okay, definitely. Thank you. And and that's what business is all about. I'm passionate about what I do here, but what we want to do before we leave is people can generally only remember 3 things, and we talked about a lot more than 3 things. So if you can take a minute and think about what 3 things people should take away from what we talked about today, and I'm gonna play a short video about.
Thank God. I was like trying to. I thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
So yeah, so these are some things that are coming up that's going to be really interesting from the university, and we'll give Bob a chance to work on that. Hi, I'm Andrew Frazier, founder of Small Business Pro University. I've worked one-on-one with more than 1,000 diverse small business owners and taught tens of thousands of people about business. If you're looking to work on your business instead of in it, or to scale your business and take it to the next level, you need to join Small Business Pro University for a supportive community of like-minded entrepreneurs, business education on your terms, when, where, and how you prefer, live virtual training on critical topics by small business experts, and a directory of trusted service providers to assist you with your growth. We have 3 options that you can choose from: the Masterpreneur Club for business owners who have achieved a certain level of success and are looking to scale, the Small Business Pro Growth Accelerator for business owners and future business owners who want to work on their business rather than in it, and our Associate Membership for those seeking to join the community, test drive some courses, and gain access to resources. To join, visit www.sbprou.com/membership to learn more about our membership options and select the tier that's most appropriate for your business. That's www.sbprou.com/membership. Okay, good evening. I'm here with Bob King talking about the joy of closing, and we had a great discussion on strategies that can help you more effectively close deals and grow revenues in your business. Bob's going to take a minute and share 3 key takeaways that you can start implementing tomorrow.
The pressure, Andrew. I did come up with 3 things. So number 1, your company was created to fill a need. And so think about what that need is that your company can fulfill better than any of your competition, and how they fulfill it better than any of your competition. And we didn't talk about it, but a huge component of that is who your core customer is. Think about who your core customer is. Describe that customer to any potential customers in a way that makes them want to be that customer when you tell them your company story, however it is. So, when you pick advertising, you want images that are aspirational, not necessarily the documentary of who your customer is, but the customer all your customers want to be. That's why advertising is the way advertising is. So think about the need your company was created to fulfill, and how to speak to your core customer, and remember to talk about your core customer when you talk to potential customers in a way that makes them want to be that customer. Second thing, recognize the fact that anyone who deals with the public or your customers on a direct basis has the potential to be a closer. Either it's your sales team closing them on a deal where it's really vital to their function, or your operations team closing them on the idea that you're doing a good job for them. Because that's a whole thing that gets lost. And certainly salespeople need to be a part of creating happy customers, but anyone who talks to customers has the ability to ruin that customer's experience or make it a great one. And you really want them to have an awareness of their impact and empower them to do so in a way that speaks to the customer's needs and makes them feel taken care of. And I think if you have them read my book, that would probably make a huge, at least open their mind to the idea that's something that's important, and that's something they can do. Third thing is closing is kind of a dirty word in a lot of sales circles. And I really want to overcome that, because really sales is great, and we all love to sell, and it's an exciting process. But if you're not closing those customers, you're not only leaving a lot of money on the table, but especially if you have an effective presentation and a company that's impressive and a product that really helps your customer, you're really leaving them, if you're not closing them, working with their resistance to get them what they want, you're leaving them in a very vulnerable position to accept lesser goods or a lesser experience, either based on price or someone who's just good at closing. So it's something that really is vital for your company's success, but also to take the very best care of your customers. If you have a valuable service and your company has good intentions and you're filling a need that's really there, it's still, the best idea doesn't always win. It's communicating that best idea so the customer feels it, and then having the patience, having the interest in them to work with their resistance and close them is not talking someone into something that they don't want or need. It's actually being of service to that person and the company that you work for. So, and if you want to really learn how to see the value in that for yourself as a closer, my book, The Joy of Closing, will also help you do that.
Okay. All right. Great. So, number one, really the need, or, people who are most likely to buy from you because they can see the value in what you're offering. Basically.
And talk about them in your company story. That's really important. I mean, it's in my book, but we didn't really talk about that. But talking about who your core customer is in an aspirational, magnificent, like how much you value them way, will make customers want to work with you. And it's real. I hope you feel that for your customers. I always do. I really like people who trust me and value what I've been able to do for them.
Okay. Excellent. So you've got that. Anyone who's customer facing needs to be,
has the potential to be a closer,
has the potential and needs to know that they have that potential and that they're important.
We've all had customer service from various people along the food chain, right? Of getting a product, goods, or service where they just did the extra mile. And what they're doing is not different in terms of their job performance. It's in the paying attention to the customer. It's taking 5 seconds to interact with a human being on a human level. People who do that are gold. And the name for them is closers.
Okay. But also as a business owner, you have to create a culture where that is encouraged. I think many times as a business
don't
owner,
assume that your employees are going to do it. Like, you do it, and that's why you're successful. But they don't know to do that. You have to invite them into this, and you have to also invite them into your vision for the company, and maybe pay some attention to them. Maybe pay some, find out what their hopes and dreams are, and try and be a part of it. Get invested in their success, and they will be invested in the success of your company. But you have to start down that road and let them know that they are a key part of the customer experience that you are looking to create, and that you recognize their value and their potential for really having a great experience delivered.
Okay, excellent. And that comes with leadership, developing your leadership skills. And then closing's not a bad word. You're saying that,
it's not the guy, with the briefcase in The Exorcist poster, walking down the street with the street light up and, nobody around. It's actually someone who helps people get what they want and earns trust by being trustworthy and pays attention to people and uses their expertise and the fact that they're willing to pay attention to get the customer the right solution, and then recognize that just having the right solution isn't enough. You still have to work with their resistance, because you're asking them to make a commitment, and nobody wants to rush into a commitment. But a lot of times that's the best course of action.
Okay. And basically that, if you don't close effectively and you have the best solution,
you are leaving them to the wolves,
and you're doing them a disservice. So
100%.
So, okay. So no, this is valuable. I mean, this is, nuggets of gold that, people can take. Even if you just take one of these things, you're going to be better than you were today. So definitely appreciate everybody tuning in.
I'm running a special. You can buy 20 copies of this book, and you will get an hour of my time for your sales team. We'll go over your company story. Everything will get better, or whatever, however you want me to use it. Just go to my website, joyofclosing.com. Let me know. I'll get you 20 copies of the book. We'll book some time, and you will sell more shit and be happier about it. to more people who will also be happy about it. It's a whirlpool of joy that I'm inviting you on. You have a great product, you have a great service, but if you're not communicating that effectively, you're not being of maximum service to those customers and making the most of all the hard work that you put in creating this beautiful thing that people really would benefit from having.
Okay, excellent. So what I like to do is, before we close out, I want to make sure that everybody knows that, number one, your LinkedIn profile is in the chat.
Okay.
So definitely you're welcome to reach out to Bob to connect with him and, chat with him further. Also, your website is in the chat, so that
joyofclosing.com.
Yep. So I've got that here somewhere. There we go. joyofclosing.com. So, so definitely, if that's something you want to follow up with, you're welcome to do that as well. So thanks again, Bob, for taking the time out of your busy schedule.
What a treat, Andrew. Thanks for asking great questions.
Okay. No, great. So hang on for a minute. I'm going to close out and we'll go from there. So definitely always appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate your comments. Glad that you're getting value out of what we're doing. That's why we do it. Hopefully you can take this and continue to build your skills, your leadership, your ability to grow your business. So thanks again for tuning in. As always, we have great guests, each week. It's been 4 years now. That's like amazing. We've got over 200 episodes, and we're actually going to have a 4-year anniversary show coming up, I guess, towards the end of October. So you get more details, but it'll be a great chance to catch up. But also we're going to have highlights of a lot of our great episodes, so you can see some of the key things that were shared. So hopefully you can join us for that. Next week, what our topic is we're going to talk about focusing more so that you can work less. Chad Brown's going to be our guest, and I think you'll get some value out of that as well. So hopefully you guys have a great week. We will catch you then. And just always remember, at the end of the day, the more you know, the more successfully your business is going to grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 805, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.